private labeling it. Pollen block, seasonal, discomfort, support, really, really important. That is $17.76. It's a great deal at $34.95, but it's $17.76. It's 51% off. And we've already getting reviews on it because it was being sold for a couple of weeks before I started plugging it. But again, it's amazing. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139, because it is you funding this operation that builds the platform for all the great people we have on here. And you know, Trump personally thanked me in the audience, saying, without you, we were some of that critical energy to push it over the top. And so, again, that we're going to just keep fighting. You were getting into your daughter and the future and just how critical this is. People always say these are key midterms and this is a big election. Everybody knows. Globalism's in full battle with nationalism and sovereignty right now. Davos admits they're in trouble, but they're pulling out the stops. The communist Chinese are their muscle in the news. Reuters reports last year and this year they're pledging to stop America. I mean, the communist Chinese are in bed with Hollywood, in bed with the Democrats, and they're buying off the universities. That's in the news. And I'm not demonizing the Chinese people, but, I mean, it's not the Russians, folks. It's the Chinese. They are in our business.
Yeah, I was telling Alex during the break, you know, I've got a 2-year-old daughter right now, and my wife and I hope to have more children. And what kind of world are they going to grow up in? We are literally in a battle for the future of this country, and we cannot afford to lose. You know, Donald Trump getting into the White House was a miracle. It was the biggest miracle in American political history. And this is our window. If we want to take our country back, we've got to do it now. If we fail and then they get Trump out, it's over. It's over. We could lose America forever. So literally, globalism national, we're fighting against the globalists, and they're on the march around the world, but we're on the march in America, and we're going to take America back. If it wasn't for you guys, Trump wouldn't be president. If it's not for you guys, I'm not going to get to Congress. Pro-Trump people around the country are not going to win in 2018. We've got to have you. We've got to win now, because if we wait till later, we're not going to have this chance again.
Very well said. What do you make of 3 criminal investigations open into the Clintons, and even alternative real media is hardly making a big deal about it? I mean, myself included. It's like, oh, the first new criminal investigation gets open back into Uranium One, and then into the server, and now into the Foundation for Money Laundering. And I'm even myself like, oh, but it's not on Fox News. Our job is to push it out onto Fox News.
Yeah, and that's the role of the alternative media. That's why I've been writing the last 7 years. And in recent weeks, I've been talking so much about Hillary Clinton and her crimes, because this needs to be at the top of everything. The mainstream media is trying to ignore it because it doesn't fit their narrative.
And the Clintons have killed a lot of people, but they can't kill us all, and their comeuppance is here.
It is, and it would be a great day for America to see Hillary Clinton arrested and finally go to prison. It would be a great day for America, and we need to push it. We need to push it as hard as we can.
Absolutely. People say, oh, it'll turn her into a martyr. I just can't even say the name martyr with Hillary Clinton. No, it won't. It's justice. She's a wicked, evil, thieving witch that robbed Haiti of $2 billion, and her direct adjuncts got caught smuggling children out. This woman is the spawn of hell.
Yeah, you know what? There is all kinds of talk about human trafficking, about all the things that are going on. You know, if we don't fight this, it's going to get worse. It's going to get more hellish. It's going to become more of a nightmare. And what if they come after your child? What if they come after your young one? You know, we've got to stop it now. This is our shot. With Trump in the White House, we've got to do it.
Everybody get the article out. FBI opens 3 criminal investigations into the Clintons. There's 2 articles we've got on that. Crazy MSNBC host says conservatives favor nuclear war to kill Democrats and minorities. That's coming up. And Sean Hannity, one of his most powerful commentaries that we're going to analyze on the other side. And then Dr. Edward Group in studio to cover the news, the latest health information, and more. And then he hadn't been on in years because he's been so busy building this big lab, one of the top ones in the world, the return of the Health Ranger. Mike Adams in the 3rd hour. I'm Alex Jones. Spread those live links. So, the #1 winner in President Trump's fake news awards yesterday, we had the People's Choice Awards we're going to be announcing in the next few days. I've got to go over all the people that were nominees, all the people that came up with their points to really see who won. Because in our list is not the man that said Trump helped bring back the economy. They said we never get above a 3% growth rate. He did it. He helped take the boot off America's neck. I also said that. I'm not going to give myself the award. But we predicted it was the economy. Well, that one caller did. They deserve first prize. Okay? A whole bunch of people, you know, said the Flynn thing, the Ross report from ABC News, And quite frankly, I thought it would be Russiagate, but see, Trump didn't want to make it all about their false reporting on him. He made it about their false reporting on not believing in you. That is just pure genius. So we're going to have to go back and watch at least the first 4 hours of yesterday's coverage, because two people called in, and it's the crew isn't bad. We took over 100 calls for not having it written down that they predicted it'd be the monetary return of America, and the media saying it couldn't happen. Because I just kind of agreed with the guy, if memory serves. But that person deserves the $2,000. Second place gets $1,000. Third place gets the steak knives. Because I could just kind of rubber stamp it and, give it to folks that, got number 2 and number 3 and number 4 right. But that's not fair. So we're going to have to go watch that. Have to watch my own show. No, I'm joking. I actually don't like watching myself. But the point is, I love listening to the callers. So that's very exciting. I normally have commentary on things when I play it for fair use, but I don't really know how I can add commentary to what Sean Hannity has come out and said, because it's so accurate. We're going to play that, and then I'm going to come back and play Tim Cook saying, hey, we're bringing Apple back to America because of the tax cut. It makes it now where we can come back here, because now it's the same as China's tax rate. Now, China just lowered to 0 to counter that, but it shows how we had these internal tariffs, basically tax tariffs on ourselves to sell our jobs out, which was the globalist plan. So that's coming up as well. But Hannity has come out and taken what the internet really started memeing over the weekend, and that CNN is the whole network, the whole network. We don't do like they do and violate the FCC stuff, but we don't like to be vulgar either, but sometimes we have to illustrate vulgarity by being vulgar. And so Hannity now on his big platform, the biggest on cable news and one of the biggest on talk radio, is helping us brand it. And I think the group collective deserves coining it. I do remember seeing it over the weekend, saying it myself, but a lot of others were saying it as well, that, hey, that the mouths of the reporters at CNN are holes, that everything that comes out of them is that. When Phil Mudd, that says he wants to kill the president, said he's a proud holer. I mean, I agree. He is a hole. Everything that comes out of his mouth is basically what he said he is. So finally, they're telling the truth. Maybe they can get an award for telling the truth, saying that they are that whole network. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. And he lays it all out and goes over the lies and the hysteria. And then what happened? Well, let's just go to the tape. Here it is.
So the president has heart disease. Those numbers qualify him for having heart disease, and it clearly needs a plan to try and prevent some sort of heart problem down the road.
Really? He's never examined the president. Now, we know that fake news, CNN, I have a new name in a second, and we know they hate the president, but really, they're going to predict a guy that's never examined the president that he's going to have a heart attack? Now, this type of behavior, it shouldn't be surprising, especially coming from what we're now calling, you see it right there, CNN, the whole network, or the whole fake news network. It fits. CNN somehow managed to say that word hundreds of times in 1 week alone. Here are just a few of the examples. I promise I played them all. I have too much news to cover tonight. But here's some. We'll put it on our website tomorrow.
What was your reaction when you heard the president call, African nations holes?
It's not clear what he meant by whole countries.
Are you shocked or surprised by this?
I'm not surprised. In one way, I'm proud. I am a proud holer.
No, we are not all created equal. At least not if you are born in, as the president put it, a whole country.
The word house instead of whole, as in house countries, not whole countries.
I guess he's a holer.
Is there a difference if the president said whole house?
Do you think these countries are holes?
Donald Trump has turned the Oval Office into a hole.
Holers built this country 110 years ago.
In addition to the president's comments yesterday, a few more.
Whole countries.
Whole
country. Rich, do you have any example of any whole country that the president referred to that is predominantly Caucasian?
Holers.
Holes.
Holers. I work for holers. I'm proud to be a holer.
I never in a million years thought I would be saying hole on television.
Congratulations, CNN. You've done more than enough to earn your new nickname, the whole network, fake news network. Keep up the good work.
They really are desperate criminals that are aware that we're aware of them. And it's a great report. The full report's like 6.5 minutes long. It's on INFOWARS.com. Steve Watson wrote about it. You need to send it out to everybody you know, because this is a real grand slam that Hannity has put out. You know, he reportedly writes his own 6-minute intros, and it's just all true. Video, Hannity dubs CNN the whole network. They're hypnotized, lobotomized robots. Oh, yeah, at the start, he lays out how they believe their own bull, and they keep saying that the president's super sick and mentally ill and has dementia and Alzheimer's. And so when the doctor comes out and says it isn't true, it's obviously not true, they all flip out. Here, let's go to some more of it.
All right, so the sick, the twisted, the mentally unstable anti-Trump media again working itself into a new manufactured frenzy. Now, we have been explaining how the biased press operates in this country for a while. Here's how it works. They rush from one fabricated meltdown to another, and in the process, these brain-dead so-called journalists, they bounce around the same talking points in their little fake news bubble echo chamber. And it becomes a competition to see, well, who can say the most outlandish, the most offensive, the most completely false thing about President Trump. It's like they're hypnotized, lobotomized robots. They're kind of programmed every day. Wake up, hate Trump. It's really pathetic, and it's sad, and it's predictable, and they are not serving you, the American people. Now, members of the media, sadly, they're sheep, they're closed-minded. They have actually convinced themselves, this is the psychotic part, through their own conspiracy theories, that President Trump is, he's suffering from dementia. He has early onset Alzheimer's. He's deranged. Now, the newest fake news fixation is all about the president's health. You think he'd be happy? Now, naturally, after the president's doctor told them that he was in excellent, I repeat, excellent physical condition, and this shocked him, could easily serve for 2 full terms, the media could not believe it. It goes against everything they have all been telling themselves, hour after hour, day after day, week after week, month after month. The press, they can't stand the fact that the president scored a perfect 30 for 30 on a cognitive exam.
And they never know when to give up.
My guess is most of the people in the media world would probably fail that test.
Or Pelosi.
If they took it themselves. I'd love to test them. Now, before we show you new examples, it's important to highlight just how utterly insane the media was yesterday at the press conference with the president's doctor. Watch this.
Do you keep a tally of how much golf the U.S. president plays?
Some of the president's friends have told reporters in the past that they think he's a germaphobe, that he washes his hands obsessively and is concerned about that. Have you seen any indication of that type of behavior?
Does he watch too much TV?
I don't.
Sedentary lifestyle sort of
They're like a bunch of mentally ill goons.
Do you see any evidence of bone spurs, which the president said that he suffered from? Is he limited to one scoop of ice cream now? Do you have any concerns about the president's Twitter?
No, I don't. Yeah, Twitter doesn't involve me as a doctor. I don't have any concern on that.
Does the president wear dentures? You mentioned the dental exam.
The president has no partial or dentures of any kind.
You said he doesn't drink and he doesn't smoke, and other than the diet issue, did you address drug addiction?
Drug addiction?
I mean, any other drugs?
Yeah, no, he has no drug addiction.
All right, let's stop there. Reportedly, he doesn't even take aspirin. But by the way, notice what he's thrown down here as the gauntlet. They're the ones that wanted him to have the cognitive test. Now, I demand Pelosi, who can't even chew gum, can't even talk, or Maxine Waters, or that other congressman that thinks that islands float. I demand all these lunatics be mentally tested now. Because let me tell you, they're all certifiable. We'll be back. Stay with us. Well, riding shotgun with me for the next hour and 40 minutes or so is Dr. Edward Group, one of my good friends, great researcher, somebody that going back even a decade ago before I was even having him on the show, I would see things he was talking about and writing about that today is mainstream news. And so we're going to get into so many of these topics. I first remember hearing from you that diet soft drinks make you fat. Now that's mainstream news. Also heard it from Dr. Blaylock, a brain surgeon. And, so many other issues. Of course, your dad was a famous chemist who helped create bisphenol A, and that's a whole other story. But we're winning on a lot of fronts, but we're also losing on a lot. So I want to get into some of those, and I wanted to recap something we haven't spent enough time on, because I had a caller call in, I think it's Carlos from Canada, a few weeks ago, and talk about what true iodine does in the body and why the globalists try to keep us deficient. And people said, man, that was a powerful 3-minute call. Is that true? Well, absolutely. You're going to go over the literature, the history, mainstream news, 15-point IQ reductions, in people that don't get enough iodine. The FDA keeps lowering the level you supposedly need. Then the bad halogens come in. We're going to get to all that in the next segment and a bunch of other news. And then return to Mike Adams. People say, where'd Mike Adams go a few years ago? The health ranger. He has spent so much time building a world-class laboratory with certifications a lot of people don't even have, that he unplugged from a lot of media for a while. But he's back now. I didn't ask him to do it. He tested all of our products, and just like BuzzFeed did, and found they were all super clean. I said, well, you know what's going to happen. They're going to get tested again, and magically, and that happened. The Democrats don't give up. California standards, they said a few failed, and they've sued me. And that's been in the news. Well, I didn't even ask him to do it. He tested it with modern spectrometers, and lo and behold, shows what the first test showed. But, I mean, how do you even deal with this? That's a whole other subject. He wanted to get into that today. I want to get into the big sludge conspiracy, his big film coming out, Biosludge, and just, move on from that point. People know what's going on. They didn't buy into it, and we're going to win that deal. But it's just frightening when you realize the links that people will go to.
Yeah, no, it is. But the good news is things are changing, and we're starting to see those changes getting into the iodine we'll talk about later. But I'm glad to see Mike. Mike's done some incredible things over the last few years. He's been around a long time. Great guy, and really is one of those pioneers in, just like us, in changing the way people think, providing people with the information necessary to make good choices. And again, it's all about how healthy your mind is, how healthy your body is, how much do you take care of yourself on a regular basis, and waking the population up, which I think that we are seeing that tipping point coming close right now, Alex.
That was my next point. I want to ask you this, because I even have family that said to me, because they know about the behind-the-scenes stuff, I mean, even my own mother, and she's always been, hey, tell the truth, charge, action. She said, do you have to do everything? Do you have to be like literally pushing these people into a corner? You have a family. And I said, it's because I have family. I am pushing this hard. But even people in my family that have never balked are like, whoa, because they've seen this stuff behind the scenes. It is unbelievable. But, God's going to take us through this fiery furnace, or I'm going to be used as an example in this fight. I'm not lionizing myself. Think how much pressure Trump's under, the things you've gone through, how Mike Adams gets persecuted, the things that go on, we tell the truth. And that's what I wanted to say. I'm enthusiastic about Trump because he is delivering. And his biggest enemy is the fake conservatives that say, oh, he's going to screw us on DACA, when he said, no, I'm not, and he didn't so far. Or he's not going to give us real tax cuts, and then he does. Or, oh, he's not going to really have, the fake news awards, and he does. And he's not a dictator, and he's gotten so much done that it makes my head spin. And I just think morally, in this instant gratification culture, we should be more thankful. That's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying is, fast forward 50 to 100 years from now, when our grandkids are reading the history books and it talks about the revolution in health and the revolution of America that happened between, let's say, the year 2000 and 2050, or however long it takes to get these things changed. We can see that movement happening right now. And our grandchildren's grandchildren are reading the history books saying, what? They used to inject vaccines into people. They used to inject viruses into people. They used to poison the water of the people. They used to poison the air of the people. And then there's going to be a whole section in those history books. I mean, we are part of that revolution. We don't realize what we're doing right now and how important we really are in telling and getting this information out. This will be in the history books, and your grandchildren will be reading about it. And they will be talking about you, and they'll be talking about all of the players and all of the people that came together to change the world.
Your children and grandchildren won't have their genetics completely ruined, which we know generationally it's already pretty bad. And what changed the last 10 years? Because of Dr. Mercola and the listeners and all the other great people that are out there. What changed the last decade where CNN goes, okay, fluoride should be taken out of the water. It's causing brain cancer and bone cancer and lower IQ and lower fertility. I mean, that's Harvard studies. What changed where they now are, okay, diet drinks make you fat? I mean, they're suddenly coming out, okay, MSG eats your brain. Okay, Prozac makes you kill people. Okay, Ritalin, shrinks your kid's brain physically. I mean, suddenly they know they can't cover it up anymore.
There's something going on with the sterility plan, and I think it's backfiring on a lot of people, because initially the plan was by taking the iodine out of foods, by incorporating and telling people to eat more cooked and processed and microwave foods, dead food, by adding all the chemicals and artificial sweeteners, by blanketing the earth with the endocrine disrupting chemicals and the pesticides and herbicides and the glyphosates and the GMO foods. A lot of that, 90% of it, has to do with making the world sterile. And a lot of that's not even going to come into play for 2 or 3 generations.
And there's thousands of white papers from all the globalists, from the former White House science czar, John P. Holdren, to all these people admitting that they're doing it. This is an admitted plan.
No, absolutely. There's nothing that we're saying up here that hasn't been in the mainstream media, hasn't been documented.
The German government wants to drug Germans in the water supply now with lithium to make them submit to Islam. You cannot make it up. That is in Der Spiegel.
No, you cannot make it up, but I think that one of the reasons why the mainstream media is coming out with some of these things is because those individuals that are involved are having problems with fertility. They're getting the autistic children. They believed in the game. It's a mental thing. So the people that do believe in vaccines and that think that it's okay to eat a bunch of garbage food and use glyphosate and all that, well, those high-level people, too, are having problems having kids. And even the people that control the world are still having problems with the whole fertility issue. And you're right, it is the children that we're trying to protect, especially looking at the studies that have been done on rats with artificial sweeteners and genetically modified foods, where by the 4th, 5th, or 6th generation, they're completely sterile and there's no more ability to get pregnant.
And there's the Washington Post admitting it's a sterilant and grows cancers. They knew when they approved it in the 70s, and they admit it is a bioweapon plan, a chemical weapon plan against humanity. Understand, folks, they admit it. They are putting hydrofluorosilicic acid in the water at 1.3 parts per million to brain damage you and lower your fertility, they admit. And even though it's all admitted, they're keeping it in the water and sell baby water with it in the water, hiding the attack in plain view. We'll be back with this emergency transmission. Share those links. Warn your families. Warn everybody, or roll over and die. I'm Alex Jones. Dr. Edward Group is with us, and we're talking about history solved. I'm going to ask Dr. Group a critical question. Why suddenly is CNN, MSNBC, Harvard Medical, you name it, going, okay, hydrofluorosilicic acid, fluoride in the water is causing massive IQ reductions, cancer, dental fluorosis, brain cancer. We need to take it out. Okay, there is runoff making the frogs basically be infertile. Okay, sperm count is down 90%. Okay, glyphosate is making you infertile and giving you cancer. And Dr. Group confided to me privately, and he's done the research, and there's white papers on this, that they admit it's having unforeseen chain reactions in the environment, threatening to bring down the entire biosphere, that to use these weapons against us, the globalists, to depopulate through soft kill, they've caused a chain reaction. Because you see them kind of now hedging their bets, going, yeah, there is vaccine protection since 1984, 86 is when it went into full effect. Yeah, these companies are causing people to die. I mean, we're not saying you can't learn immunities. We don't believe in that. It's what are they putting in you? The same government's caught in all these secret tests giving black people syphilis. We know the H1N1 was a simulant. They put in a vaccine the year before that we got the next year. Everybody I know that gets the flu took the flu shot. I mean, it's incredible. So you were getting into something when we were talking before we went live on air, into why this is happening and what's going on behind it, and why history solved. We know their plan. It's in white papers, and now their plan's falling apart at every front. What's going to happen, and then what comes into that vacuum? Well, those of us that aren't eugenicists or technocrats, we better get involved and come into the vacuum, not to run things, but to culturally counter the globalists. So, Dr. Group, roll through this critical information for us.
Okay. Well, first of all, there's more information available to the general public, and there's more freedom fighters that are coming out, and what I like to call real news broadcasters, not the alternative media, but real news broadcasters like yourself and everybody else. Then there's the next generation of children that have watched their parents and their grandparents die, that are listening to this and that are putting a lot of pressure on these organizations. So first thing you have is you have the flow of information out there. So it's getting to the point where they just can't hide it anymore. Secondly, their original plan was to control the population, and they weren't thinking about the impact it was going to have on the atmosphere. They weren't thinking about the impact it was going to have on the earth. It was all about money because the government was allowing Monsanto to move forward with their programs. They were allowing Dow AgriSciences, Syngenta, and the big chemical manufacturers and oil and gas producers to drill as much into the earth, to use chemicals on the earth, to spray chemicals in the air through the chemtrails. So even though the original plan was to poison the food and cause a slow death because the pharmaceutical companies work in unison with the big agricultural companies. They work in unison with the oil and gas companies, and they all work together
in a multi-layered binary weapon delivery system.
Yes, yes, but it's gotten out of control because of the money and because of different individuals that head up different departments or different companies that want to get rich. So what we've come to now is a massive chemical, biological nightmare.
Death orgy.
Which it's almost at the tipping point where it's too... That's why they're trying to control the weather. I mean, they put the HAARP systems in and have been controlling the weather as well to fix that into their spider web of all these different things that they're trying to do. But now,
by the way, the Department of Energy admits the Doppler systems aren't just for Doppler. They're using Dubai has Doppler up to control the weather. They just admit it on their news. Here they just control it, and the general scientists and meteorologists don't even know it's just got that other function.
But people are waking up, and it's because they're starting to get healthy. The best and the fastest way that you can wake yourself up is to become healthy and to cleanse your body and detoxify and to not buy these things. And that is a trend that's been happening since the GMO movement, since the organic movement.
Well, it's just like bottled water. It's not perfect, but everybody knew, stop drinking the tap water. It's people instinctively are moving away. Because the globalists themselves always, they're into organic. They're into not taking vaccines. They're all the ones obsessed with this because they know. And I think they're now realizing they're never going to get out of the things they've done. They've been trapped again.
Clean water is more expensive by the gallon than gasoline is. And that's why you have the big corporations that are getting into water. They're buying up the land. Nestle is trying to take over our water supplies. Different countries are trying to take over the rights to the water. The government's now passing bills that says they can come in, and even if you own the land, they can, and you own the water rights on that land, that they can take that over and take it away from you. So going back to the whole control mechanism to control the air, to control the water, to control the food, and dumb people down and make people non-aggressive and be able to control the amount of fertility and the amount of babies that are being born through Planned Parenthood that you've talked about many times.
And they now admit in the family, don't let you say mother or father on an entrance form for your baby because that's hurtful. I mean, this is literally the end of our biological system.
You don't even have to classify your baby as a male or a female. That's the new thing now on the birth forms that they're trying to. And they're going to be so chemicalized that they're not going to be. So there'll be a whole ready-made group to say, look, to point at them and say, you've got to accept this. Kind of like they never want to find what's causing breast cancer to go up 3,000%, the glyphosate and other things. They always want to make it about, oh, let's run for it. Let's raise money for those that are dying to find a cure or whatever, when they know full well what it is, but they put it into a process, you see. Oh, everybody's not going to be able to have babies anymore, so let's just be nice, and it's who we are now. That is a perfect statement, because the one thing that they do not want us ever to find out is the root cause. And that goes for everything, Alex. The government, why? What is the root cause of why the government has 30 trillion or more in debt? What is the root cause of the USDA allowing toxins to be sprayed on the meat? What is the root cause of the FDA?
Not just toxins, live viruses. They legalized it 12 years ago. Live viruses, a vaccine is sprayed on most meat.
That's right. Well, who's looking into, well, isn't the FDA supposed to be looking into the root cause? Isn't the USDA? I mean, they're taking our tax
And then we wonder
money.
why we have record gut problems. 50 years ago, maybe 1 out of 10 million had Crohn's. Now they're saying 1 out of a couple hundred. I mean, it's just exploding.
And this is one of the reasons why we're at a tipping point. This is how I know. Because the pharmaceutical companies right now are actively trying to buy all of the nutraceutical companies.
I know.
So they know that the people are demanding health. They know the people are getting away from pharmaceuticals. And it's been part of their plan for a while. So now they're in the process of buying all the nutraceutical companies. They just wanted to push the pharmaceuticals as long as they can, and then own the nutraceuticals when the people make that transition.
We'll be right back. Tomorrow's news today. It's called the InfoWar. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Dr. Edward Gribb's my guest. He's got tons of government documents, studies, mainstream media in front of him, getting into what's happening and going on. And again, how the globalists have all this fake environmentalism to cover up the fact that they're the ones involved in an attempted takeover the very genetic biosphere of the planet, and admitting it with all the genetic engineering pollution, the chimeras, the cross species. It goes on. And then we talk about how to fight back against it. Well, with very simple things. I haven't even plugged yet today. And it's supposed to be some in here. I guess I took it in my office. Take some of the X2 iodine with water at least once a day. Let's just specifically talk about iodine deficiency and the whole iodine conspiracy and how important that is.
Well, first of all, CNN just came out with an article saying demand for anti-radiation drug jumps after Trump's nuclear threat, and we've been getting calls too. So basically, apparently, after Trump's tweet, everybody's been stocking up on iodine all over the world, and most places are completely sold out of the potassium iodide tablets. Now, that's a good thing because it's raising awareness to the benefits.
I found it. Here it is. Sorry.
There it is. X2. Now that's the only iodine supplement in the world, ladies and gentlemen. I knew about iodine a long time ago and the effects of iodine because looking at, again, the root cause of what's going on, we are all exposed to endocrine disrupting chemicals every single day. We're exposed to lead, we're exposed to mercury, we're exposed to bromine, chlorine, and fluoride, the other toxic halogens.
And this is so critical. Iodine. People need to listen very, very carefully because back in college, I was down at Barton Springs and there was some Olympic swimmer folks that were retired down there swimming. And I remember they had jugs of water and it was yellow. I said, what is it? They said, it's iodine. This is the secret. So I remember some hippies drinking iodine when I was a kid. So this has been known for a while.
In 1961, the Royal Society of Medicine came out with a published study that said free iodine in the stomach was one of the most effective things in the world at killing off bacteria and microorganisms and even viruses. That scared the pharmaceutical companies. Ever since then, we've had a major campaign to take iodine out of everything.
A war on iodine.
A war on iodine, and we've had an accumulation of the halogens that are toxic to the body. We've had massive amounts of fluoride put in the environment, chlorine and bromine. Bromine is in everything. If you get a Mountain Dew or any type of soft drinks, most likely it has bromine. Most people don't know that Mountain Dew actually has brominated vegetable oil in it to use as an emulsifier. And most people don't know that iodine is used and required by every single cell in the body. Now, there was a study that came out also, Alex, which is pretty shocking, but it's great news for us. A dose of 20,000 micrograms per day created urinary excretion levels of mercury, lead, fluoride, bromine, chlorine, and other toxins. What does that mean? If you've been in this field as long as I have, like 20-something years, you know it's very hard to detoxify and to get those things out of the body. Iodine is one of those miracle substances that not only helps you detoxify the hardest things to eliminate, they measured it in the urine of people when they put them on high levels of iodine. But think about what's going on right now in America and around the world. What does an iodine deficiency do? Well, it causes you to gain weight. Think of all the thyroid problems that we're having and we're seeing right now around the world. Hypothyroidism.
If you don't have iodine, it will use the bad halogens, bromine, chloride, fluoride. And again, this is so critical. They know this. The government put it, starting in the 20s, in the salt, a crappy form, because goiter was so problem, lower IQs. IQs went up 15 points, according to the U.S. government. Birth defects went way down. China has added it as well. But what's crazy is, explain this to people, because I want to sell them X2 and why it's the best. And when you look at it, it is true iodine. When they tested it, they said it's just pure iodine. Well, everybody else are these other types that aren't as absorbable. Why is it different? You don't want to go to the store and get iodine and drink it. It can make you sick. How is it different with the X2 from the deep earth crystals? How is it pure so the body can absorb it? Because, as you said, it's this expectorant in the body. You don't just die without it, so they're lowering the level all the time and everything, what they say is allowable or what you supposedly want, your RDA. I mean, this is so massive. Just iodine alone is just as critical as vitamin C.
I would say it's even more critical because you look at all of the glandular tissue in the body, the reproductive tissue, the ovaries, the breast tissue in women, the prostate gland.
Fertility is king.
Fertility, but all your glands are what really, your pituitary gland, which gets calcified with fluoride, the parathyroid, the pancreas, the GI tract, actually. The whole GI tract is a gland that needs iodine because the GI tract produces serotonin and all these things. Iodine is the miracle substance that pretty much everybody needs, and they claim that 70 to 80% of the world's population is deficient in iodine. But what they're testing is, do you have enough, barely a tiny amount of iodine in your body? And what prevents you from getting a goiter is 150 micrograms a day, which is the RDA. Is that the safe level? That's barely anything right there. So when you look at all of the tissue in the body and all of the things that iodine deficiency affects, it's always been one of my favorite substances. And the difference between, like what you're talking about, Alex, is people going to the drugstore and seeing the povidone or the iodine in there. That is iodine, which has been bonded to something. It's been processed. It's not healthy. As a matter of fact, iodine coming out of the ground in the mineral form is toxic. So what we have to do is we have to take, first of all, and process that into a very, very, very fine 99.999% iodine crystal form, which, by the way, is illegal. So we have to go through the DEA certification on that because iodine in that form is used to make methamphetamine. But we take that and we wrap that around this process that we developed. It took us a long time to develop. I1. It's called nascent iodine, and we wrap the glycerin molecule around that so it's easily absorbable.
And the studies were saying, fine, that then it absorbs better into the blood, into the body. All I know is I started taking it like 5 years ago when you were just developing it. And, I mean, I'd already was exercising really hard and not losing weight. It made me lose like an extra 30 pounds. I know still have a little bit of weight. I'm a husky guy, but I was at 280, went down to the lowest about 230. Haven't worked out as much, back to about 240. But when I religiously take the iodine, you name it, my kids don't get sick when I give it to them as much. They're more healthy. People say, why are your kids so radiant? Why are they so healthy? Because they have to have it, especially in development, especially, as you said, girls, for all the different parts of their body. It's insane. And look how much worse the thyroid problems are for women. And then you have the studies about thyroid issues with women, if you don't have enough iodine, being even worse. So listen, this is a total win-win, win-win-win, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I feel very good saying, hey, here's a problem. The media goes, look, Jones comes in and tells you have iodine deficiency, and then he sells you this iodine. That's exactly what I'm saying, is that you have to have this to live. This is the best source that anybody's ever come up with from our research. It funds the InfoWar, and it goes great together with the highest quality vitamin B12 out there. How do we know? BuzzFeed tested our vitamin B12, said it's pure vitamin B12 of two different types, methylcobalamin and acetylcobalamin. Adenosylcobalamin. They both go together. And then they said, but this is the best in the country from our studies. And it was Dr. Group's that we private label. And that at that time, I was selling it even less than yours. So it just showed what idiots they were. They said, ours is the best. Okay, they said, because they showed that what I was private labeling and said it was the best. They just don't get it. And they said all the stuff they tested was California standards. And I said, well, when they don't succeed first, try again, as the Democrat maxim. So we have specials running that funds this operation. I didn't even plug last hour. I'm so busy focused on fighting the globalists. When I do plug, you need to go check it out because we sell you products that are awesome, that are amazing, that are incredible. We have the InfoWars Life Core Combo Pack. Even though both these are close to selling out, we're getting more in the next month. So they're both 40% off together. Secret 12 with Survival Shield X2. If you haven't gotten the iodine, it's incredible. If you haven't tried Secret 12 for natural, healthy energy and everything else it does, together 40% off. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. By the way, no reviews yet. That's a new combo, but show folks the reviews for survival.
And let me just say, with all the nuclear facilities that have been leaking recently in the last 10 or 15 years and leaking that iodine 131, it's been well documented, especially in Europe and all over the world. Iodine, you need to have it in your
medicine cabinet. You've got to have the good iodine all the time in there so that it can't get in.